This is Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz, evil scientist, bratwurst enjoyer, and according to many, the father of Phineas and Candace Flynn. So consequently, a lying, cheating bastard. For over a decade, fans have clung to this theory, convinced it's absolutely airtight, as they point to that one date between Doof and Phineas's mom and think they got it all figured out, but they're missing one thing. In order for this theory to make sense with the show's lore, it necessarily turns Doof into a liar and a cheater, with no morals or respect for any of his children or partners. Plus, if mixed with my last theory video on Phineas and Candace's abusive father, then this would even make him an abusive parent on top of that. After that video, I was bombarded by comments saying, nah, I still like to think Doof is their dad. And to them I say, not today you don't, I'll make it so hard for you to believe it. In fact, today I'm here to show you what a monster Doof would be if he really was Phineas's dad. I'm not even gonna tear the theory apart, I'll actually try and make it work with the show's lore. But just know that for that to happen, Doof will have to turn into a much worse person by the minute. By the end of the video, you just won't want to believe it ever again. And if your friends still believe the theory is true, then show them this video and ruin it for them. Great, let's get started. Yes, Dan Povenmire, the show's co-creator, has already debunked this theory himself. But somehow, that's not enough for some of you, is it? I mean, what does he know? He only created, wrote, and voiced half of the show. He wishes he knew it as well as you do, right? After all, how can this theory be incorrect when there's so much evidence supporting it? For starters, Phineas and Doofenshmirtz both have triangle-shaped heads, that sort of palm tree hairstyle, and needless to say, they share an incredibly high IQ and are capable of building space-time altering devices in a matter of minutes. And such a trait is a tad rare, isn't it? Likewise, Candace and Doof both have particularly long necks, and people keep thinking they just can't be actual real humans because of how long they are.
Neither of us are aliens, but what's with your neck?
Wait, what's wrong with my neck?
Really? With that neck?
What's wrong with my neck?
Both are lactose intolerant and share an undying determination to achieve unreachable goals. Heck, in the Star Wars episode, Phineas even portrays Luke's counterpart, while Doof is Darth Vader's equivalent, father and son. It goes without saying though that physical similarities are just that, similarities, coincidences. Then not all smart people are related, the lactose intolerance can be genetic, but just in a handful of cases, and the Star Wars crossover, well, it's not even canon to begin with. But when the evidence piles up like this, it's not really fair to deem all these similarities as mere coincidences, right? This matter is probably worth looking into a little bit more. Plus, didn't Doof go on a date with Phineas and Candace's mom? Oh yeah, the date. Back in the 80s, before Linda became Lindana and before Doof turned to a life of evil, the two went on a date at a drive-in movie theater. Long story short, Doof stashed Linda in the trunk of his car, tried to talk her out of her lifelong dream of becoming a pop star, and then decided to ruin the movie for everyone with a Cineator. Unsurprisingly, this prompted Linda to cut the date short and have him drive her back home. On top of that, Heinz even wraps up his backstory by saying that he never saw Linda again after that, which complicates things, doesn't it? Even if the date had gone well, or they've already had a physical relationship before going to the movies, there's still a problem. Phineas and Candace are established to be full siblings, and because they're not twins and have about 7 years between them, Doof and Linda would have needed to go on at least 2 dates for this theory to work. But since there was only the one date, and they didn't even get to hold hands there, Doof can't possibly be their father, hence why Dan Povenmire highlighted this as the theory's main flaw. But then again, let's think outside of the box for a moment. We've done it countless times on the channel. What if Doof lied about never seeing Linda again? There are plenty of reasons to question his version of events. For instance, Doof is not really the most reliable of sources. He's a pretty big fan of lying. He says that lies are the glue that holds society together, and as someone meaning to be as evil as possible, lying would be a pretty appealing evil deed for him to commit, even without a specific reason for it. So maybe he was saving the story of his relationship with Linda for a different backstory. Maybe he confused Linda with another date of his, or maybe he just forgot about it entirely thanks to his amnesia-inator. Then again, perhaps he just cut the story short for dramatic effect, because Doof just loves to end his sad stories as dramatically as possible. Tell me if this isn't something he would do. Or heck, maybe he lied because he's ashamed of how he handled their next date and doesn't want Perry to know. So let's assume he lied about never seeing her again, and Linda did give him another chance. Maybe she found his wacky, sloppy charm endearing, and she agreed to a second date. Well then, in this case, could she have gotten pregnant with Candace then, on their second date? Sounds plausible, right? Well, not really. What would the timeline look like? So, since their first date was in 1982, according to the radio announcer, let's place it on our timeline. Would this mean that Candace was born soon after that date? No, not exactly. That's because Linda became a pop star in 1985, and she even went on a reunion concert years later after her days of glory, so something between 2 to 10 years. And only after that did she have Candace, as she revealed in Ladies and Gentlemen Mid Max Modem. So either the two remained in a relationship for 5 to 10 years, meaning Heinz was hiding a pretty huge chunk of his life from Perry there, or more likely they eventually stopped seeing each other and only reconnected years later. Meaning Doof still lied about never seeing her again, except he didn't stay in touch with her right after the movie theater date, but they simply met each other again years later and reconnected. It would be a bit messy, and it would make that first date a bit less of a shocking piece of evidence supporting this theory, but it would still work. Couldn't they have dated once and then reconnected years later only for them to have Candace then? Again, not quite. There is still a little bit of a problem. Or actually, more like an insurmountable obstacle. Doof's wife, Charlene. Currently, she's his ex-wife, technically. For a clear timeline of Doof's life, check out my video on the subject, but in short, Heinz and Charlene met in community college, got married, and had Vanessa shortly after. And this is a problem. Actually, that counts as two problems, because first, Vanessa is 1 year older than Candace, and because Doof and Charlene only got divorced when Vanessa was 4, this means that Doof cheated on his wife so he could sleep with Linda and have Candace. After all, if he's Vanessa's dad, and the father of Candace and Phineas, as you're suggesting, then this means he cheated on Charlene when Vanessa wasn't even 3 months old. But here's the second issue. Because Doof and Charlene lived together and raised Vanessa together for 4 years, then it's implied that Heinz abandoned Linda and Candace. He was living with Charlene then, he couldn't have been in 2 places at once, so he cheated on one woman and abandoned the other one at the same time. And on top of this, what about Phineas? Well, building on what we've already talked about, 3 years after Doof's divorce with Charlene, about 6 years after Candace's birth, and after abandoning her, Linda must have slept with him again and gotten pregnant with Phineas. Don't ask me why she would want to do that, especially after he abandoned her and her daughter, but if Doof is Phineas and Candace's father, then all this necessarily has to be true. Now, I get that Doof is trying to be evil and that he's okay with lying, but now we're suggesting he's capable of cheating and neglect too? Oh, and it gets worse. Let's be honest, one thing the internet absolutely loves to talk about and can't shut up about is Doof's traumatic childhood. About how he was abused, hated and rejected from birth and endured unimaginable pain, yet he vowed to make Vanessa's childhood the exact opposite of his own. Despite everything, he pours his heart and soul into being the loving, supportive parent that he never had, earning his spot as one of the most wholesome cartoon dads ever. Adorable, right? Well then, if Doof is Phineas and Candace's father, because he's also Vanessa's, then this means that Doof raised his firstborn daughter with all the care in the world, only for him to abandon and disregard his 2 younger children. He would be repeating his parents' exact same mistakes, favoring one child while neglecting the others, just like their parents adored Roger but resented him for no reason. So first we appreciate how wholesome he is, and now we're happy to accept the idea of him being a lying, cheating bastard who abandoned his children, repeating his parents' mistakes and learning nothing from his horrible childhood, that he slept with Linda while being married to Charlene, only for him to abandon her, Candace and Phineas, and then spent years covering it all up, hurting this many people in the meantime. Really? Had Vanessa been younger than Phineas and Candace, we even could have found a way around it and explained it all away, saying that Doof simply really regretted abandoning Candace and Phineas, so that's why he was really trying his best with Vanessa. He was trying to make up for his past mistakes. But since Vanessa is older than both of them, this justification doesn't work either. And before you start suggesting that maybe Heinz is just Phineas's father and not Candace's too, as that would explain explain why the two look so much alike and have so much in common, and this at least would make him a slightly less horrible person, because in this scenario he wouldn't have cheated on Charlene to give birth to Candace, but nope, they're full siblings, they come as a package. If Phineas is his spawn, so is Candace, and if Candace is his daughter, then Doof must have cheated on Charlene, and then consequently and very hypocritically showered Vanessa with love while kicking Phineas and Candace to the curb. I'm not saying this theory doesn't make any sense, we made it work, right? It's a huge stretch, but all conspiracy theories are like this. If we like to explore the idea of Linda being a horrible mother to Candace, of Candace herself knowing Perry's secret, of Doof being related to Isabella, or of Jeremy being a no spoilers there, the theory hasn't come out yet, so stick around for that one, then we can explore this theory as well. We just gotta keep in mind all the implications. I'm not saying you shouldn't believe it, I'm just saying this is the full picture. So to wrap it all up, Doof lied to Perry in the episode What Do We Do when he talked about his date with Linda, simply because he's just so ashamed of what he did, how he acted just like his parents, and doesn't want his best friend to know. So either he's a lying, hypocritical, abusive, cheating piece of crap, or he's just not Phineas and Candace's dad. There's no third option, so the choice is up to you. Do you want to believe it or not? From now on, you'll keep living your life knowing that everyone who supports this theory is necessarily implying that Doof is a monster. Cool, I love what we just did. Again, I highly recommend you watch this video I made about Phineas and Candace's biological father if you haven't already, because it explains how, regardless of who this man is, he was an actually horrible, despicable parent to Linda's children, making things for Doof even worse if he's their father, if that's even possible. With this being said, I thank you all so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video and hope we can never talk about this theory ever again, and I'll see you guys next time. I swear I'm done talking about Phineas and Candace's biological father. For now, maybe. Ciao!